Hello, everyone. This is Nana Matari here. I am meditation coach and trainer. And today I'm with Michelle Thompson. She is a academic and legal coach. We met each other at her chapter, BNI chapter 6. And while I was leading meditation at her chapter, and later on, we just appointed this one-to-one to get to know each other appointment, and we just finished actually. And then I said, okay, why not? We have a very good conversation together, and I wanted to share about my awakening and my fears, how my fears and my pain lead to my awakening. I also would like to share that today. And I just invited Michelle spontaneously, and she said yes. So before we get into that, can you share a little bit about your background, Michelle? So
Absolutely.
that,
Good morning,
yeah,
everyone on the East Coast of the US at any rate.
yeah,
So I practiced law for 7 years, and then I decided I'll get into the particulars of it later, but then I decided to go ahead and work on a doctorate in history, and I did that. I graduated from NYU in 2012, and I've been teaching part-time ever since, but I also decided after I connected with many academics and some lawyers that people needed help. And so about five
yeah.
years ago, I started to build a coaching business where I actually served both academics and lawyers. And what I help people do is to get clear about their purpose so that they're working towards their purpose and not the other way around.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. So in our conversation, you also talk about your own awakening and your started with your own personality development and so on.
Mhm.
Can you tell me or the audience, how does it started? I mean, how is your personality development started, and how did you end up in this becoming a coach?
It's funny, since we talked, I have memories of other parts of how things have shifted for me. So I actually remember practicing in Washington, D.C. And I remember a day where I was actually breaking out in hives. I had never had hives before. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, what on earth is this?
Yeah.
Um, and partly through the peer counseling organization I'm a part of, but also I actually started to practice yoga. That was actually the first time I'd ever done yoga. And I decided to try it because I thought, well, if nothing else, it could take away the anxiety. And that was
Yeah.
a definitive step in the way of doing something different. Of course, you don't know how at the
Mhm,
time, but it was definitely a
mhm.
definitive step. Um, I actually, the practice of yoga is what got me through my doctoral program.
Wow.
Um, yeah, if I didn't, I wouldn't have written a word if I didn't practice yoga. So that was definitely a part of it. You talk about being embodied Nandar, and
Mhm,
it was just like I have to respond to the body and the mind have to be calm for me to actually be
yeah.
able to do the work that I was going to do. Um, and then I graduated and I, got the doctorate, right? And that's just excited about that. Except I was working at three different schools,
Yeah.
um, like quite far away from me, and earning little or nothing because I was teaching part time. And I got to a point where I felt suicidal.
Mm,
And when I hit that point, and my son was 8 at the time, and I was like, that's quite a legacy to leave him with.
mhm.
If like I can end my life, but that's a heavy burden to leave him with, or I can figure out something else. Um, one I actually started to look at journalism, but I was like, I don't really want to start at the beginning because I have these two other
Yeah.
careers that would really well inform what I'm doing. And I've been part of this peer counseling organization, and I thought to myself, I have the skill of listening to people and thinking well about them so that they can actually change their lives. What if I could actually do work that paid me to do that instead of doing it as a volunteer? And
Yeah.
I opened my email, and there was an email that said a $2,000 scholarship to become a coach. I'm like that. I'm not entirely sure what a coach does, but I think that's what I'm trying to do. And
Yeah.
that was really that I think, although it was a call for what I was going to do in my life to support myself, it was also what am I going to do in my life to actually make sure that I'm living my purpose and on my path. And again, you don't know these things when you start them, but that's definitely what it's become. So that's yeah,
That is your journey of
that
your
has been my journey.
awakening, also your suffering, which
Absolutely.
leads you at last, choosing this way of, walking on your path of
Absolutely. And
traveling.
in the past year, I've been very attuned to, and really both of my parents died last year. And when my mom died, I wasn't unexpected. She had Alzheimer's. Um,
Mhm.
but when my mom died, I was like, okay, this is a moment to reset. It's a moment to go within, like in a deeper way than I'd ever done before. And I just wanted to really be very clear about, am I doing what I need to be doing on this earth? And
Yeah.
I keep getting I keep getting the message, yes, yes, it's your job to you're here to help people with this particular skill set. Stop grasping, to stop just climbing rungs of the ladder, and to actually get clear about purpose. And again, let their purpose drive their work, and not their work wrangle their purpose.
Yeah, you talk that beautifully about your purpose, your awakening, also your suffering too. I also would like to share that with the audience about my fear story
Mhm.
because I was the teenagers full of fears because my mother wanted me to have the best grade at school. So my whole early teenagers was full of fears and anxiety. So when I heard first thing about the meditation from my physics teacher when I turned 15, I have this calling in myself. For you is you started with the yoga. I started with the meditation when I turned 16. So I went to the monastery, I shave my hair, I sit down in the monastery for 27 days. It's really awakened me, and I comes to understand that I can control my emotions. Also, I can control my feelings so that I can also help myself to go to the different direction. So it was my first awakening out of my own fears and anxiety that I've been suffering for many years. And later on in 2000, I don't cannot remember the time, but it was when I turned 22 or 20, 21, 22 at that time. My parents went through a big crisis. So they have a lot of problems. They fight all the time. And then later on, they also went divorced, like when I turned 23 or so. But at that time, what 20, 21, 22 was very hard time for me. They were fighting all the time, and I was very angry with my father. He was doing a lot of bad things for my mom. That is what I see. And then I went to monastery because I really have to control myself. I cannot be angry all the
Mhm.
time. Then I was in the monastery for like 14 days because out of the fire anger that I have for my father. And when I also, like, when they finally divorced, I went into the depression. Like 1 month,
Mm.
I cannot do anything at all. Then I just have to lay down in bed and just have to, do that on my own. And I have to build up slowly by myself. And of course, this meditation really helped me. So with that awakening, also with that fears that I have and all the stress I have, it's also pushed me to go deeper in that spiritual practice, I must say. And when I also reached to Germany, so at that time I was also under stress most of the time because I worked in the financial consulting, and selling the investment funds. And I was really stressed out. And I'm because of the meditation or daily practice of meditation early in the morning. So it's sometimes 20 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes. I can really put myself together and also keep on going. So at one point, I comes to realize that a lot of colleagues around me, they are also
Mm.
suffering the same problems.
Mhm.
It was in 2010, and I started teaching them to meditate. So because out of my own intuition and feeling that, okay, they need that methods of controlling their mind and emotion so that they can also, overcome that and find their way of how to live, out of purpose and out of better intention.
Right.
So that was my way about it. And I also would like to talk about that because I feel it. A lot of people around us right now, the whole world actually, are feeling all these pains, all the fears, uncertainty, right? And I feel very empathetic about it. I also feel that, I also want to take the pain for them. And but on the other hand, I know that that pain and fears is really necessary to have our awakening. to have to go also into that spiritual path. That is what I feel about it. That is why I also, we talk about that, and all of a sudden we talk about that. And what do you think in your idea? So I talk about that the fears and pain are necessary to find the awakening. And so how do you think that the people can find their own path? So instead of feeling that's feelings of fears and pains all the time, what do you think, Michelle?
I think you have to quiet yourself. I think our world is designed to actually distract us
Mm-hmm.
from actually finding it's like every, like buy this, like that'll, but that buy this pull actually tends to pull us away from our great path. So it actually takes a decision to be quiet, right? And yeah, I start with yoga, but meditation is actually a very, very integral part of my day. I meditate every single day myself. And that time to get really quiet is what it's a way of tapping in without necessarily engaging the pain and the suffering. And it actually gives you the courage to actually walk and face that stuff. Like we
Yeah.
can't, I mean, it's part of the bye, do this, do that is to actually keep us from facing our pain and suffering. And it's hard. And if you've had lots of trauma, that's hard work to do. And it often feels like it'll sink you.
Yeah.
But you get to use methodologies like meditation. The other thing I actually love is emotional freedom technique, also known as tapping. I'm tapping
Yeah.
on acupuncture points, right? These are all ways, techniques that we can use to build the resilience we need so that we can go back and face that stuff, so we can actually get really clear about, to have that awakening, to have a sense of,
Mm.
oh, okay, that's where I'm going. And it's never a one and done process is the other part
Yeah.
of it. Like, I think, again, we live in societies that are like fast, do it now. It's like, no, these
Yeah.
are slow, sometimes messy, circuitous, not
Yeah.
spiralic paths. They're not necessarily linear, and we have to be ready for that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You say it very beautifully and effectively. We just have to quiet our mind first, right? And instead of started keep on doing the stuff that you're doing, keep on watching the shows that you're watching, and keep on listening the things what you are keep on listening, and you won't be coming out of this misery. So
Right.
that is also my point. I left everything behind, and I went to the monastery, and I'm just meditating 24/7. And but you don't have to do it right away, but you just necessarily need to break the habits.
Right. You
So,
actually, like 10 minutes of meditation a day
yeah,
would
10
actually go,
minutes. Yeah.
could actually do it, or like a round of tapping or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, whatever it is, you have
But you
to
have to,
break
you have
the
to create
pattern.
that break. Right.
Yeah. So as for me, even right now, so I'm been meditating myself for 27 years and teaching other people for 7 years. But if I'm in touch with a lot of people, I also get lost. And also of these fears and anxiety, it's also come back, because if we have our body, we will have the pains, right? If we have our mind, we'll also feel the stress and fears too. So it is
Exactly.
part of our life, and part of our being. So that's why after our conversation or before our conversation, I was like taking a break. 30 minutes without watching the phone, right? And then after
Exactly.
the break, I'll be walking like 15 minutes around the block, or I'll go to the forest sometime 1 hour or 2 hour, so that I've become in touch with myself and know that, okay, I'm not my thoughts. I'm not those no
Exactly.
fears. Because
Exactly.
you all know that that industry of the news and everything, they wanted us to be addicted to that.
Right.
So
That's how they
don't
get
watch the
eyeballs, so
TV.
they could get more advertising dollars in its most
Yes,
cynical
yes.
way, right? Like they want you there and terrified.
Yeah, so don't watch the television and cut off the time if you cannot do it right away. Leave it behind, and it come back to yourself. Quiet your mind, leave your phone, and take a break. And it will. And also, of course, meditate or do yoga or tapping or work with any coaches and trainer, so that the people can really also find it out. And how to overcome their fears and their pains and go to
Exactly.
that way of our purpose.
Exactly.
Yeah. What do
Exactly.
you think that what else the people can do to overcome this fear and to have
Hmm.
that awakening or more of joy in find the way?
It is the process of just doing the things that that a parent will tell you to do. Sleep,
Yeah,
right? Like we can't, as good as coffee is, like that can't we can't just rely on coffee to get us through everything, right? Make sure that you're getting 8 hours of sleep, right?
yeah.
You feel a lot more anxious. You end up stuck in the muck and mire if you actually don't get enough rest and you can't make the judgments you want to
Mm,
make about it. Eat well. There's so much research coming out about foods that are either contain sugar or convert to sugar in our bodies and the
yeah.
detrimental effects it has. It creates inflammation of our bodies and creates inflammation in our minds. It's actually more and more evidence that suggests that it's sugar consumption that actually may be a triggering cause of
Mm,
Alzheimer's, right?
wow.
So, eat well, really think
Mm,
about what you're putting in your mouth and why. And, and at first it's a process of just stopping and noticing, but that's really important. Move your
yeah,
body, right? You talked about going outside, like walk
yeah,
around the block, get on a bike. I love yoga, I love Pilates, but I live blocks away from Central Park. Sometimes that's what I need to do in my day. Just get up
yeah,
and go and walk in the park. Sometimes I take the dog, sometimes I don't. But like those like three basic things that that our parents tell us you need to do these things,
yeah,
they still work in
yeah,
spite of the screens, right? Like it's because of the screens, we actually need to do that. We need to get sleep, we need to eat well, we need to move our bodies. And
yeah.
that's such an important part of it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Michelle.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
also
And
doing that
drink your water.
intuitively. Yeah, drink water. I'm drinking water the whole time too.
Exactly.
You have to be dehydrated. And I'm also right now letting go of a lot of meats, right? I feel that, less meat is always good for my body. I feel
Hmm.
lighter and less
Hmm.
sugar and less, caffeine. And it's always good for my body. And of course, I'm now moving also more. And yeah, with that, I just would like to wrap up our conversation.
Awesome.
And as you are in the same position like us, we all suffered. We all have fears. We all have angers and all these things. We have to overcome it. If you are suffering all those, I would like to say that you're not alone. I mean, we are all in the same boats. But if you need help, like me, you can also reach out to Michelle. I will be writing down her contact information in our YouTube channel and also the Facebook later on. And I would like to hear from you. How are you taking care of yourself in this time to overcome your fears and pains also, so that you can also share with our community, make the comments in the YouTube or in the Facebook. And with that, I would like to say thank you again, Michelle,
Thank you
for
for
your
having me.
for the spontaneous idea that you jump in with to share your story and to share your lights with the wall. And we'll meet each other again soon.
Absolutely.
Okay, take care, everyone.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.